and salutations, my friends, and welcome to a new video. A new month has dawned upon us. May is officially here. April showers brings May flowers. I am ready for a good new array of books for this upcoming month. I could swear April felt just about eternal. I feel like the span of April felt entirely like 3 years, and the books that I chose for April lasted me such a long time, and I still didn't finish my TBR, by the way. Full disclosure. However, I am excited because I feel for May as opposed to April, I am really focused on specific titles that I want to read. I am looking forward to like very specific books, whereas in April, I just felt like I was walking aimlessly until I chose books that sounded somewhat interesting, but I wasn't like dying to read. And so this go around, I am hyper focused. I have got specific titles and I'm like, I'm coming for you. Vengo por ti, te voy a leer en mayo. Venga. I think may just be the best TBR we have had as of yet. So welcome to my TBR Prom Jar Chooses, my May Reads, also known as my May TBR. We're about to revamp my entire TBR cart together. Typically give books about 2 months to like take them off the TBR cart and renew it completely, and we have gotten there. And so I think for May, we are choosing a brand new set of 10 books. Always intimidating, but always a good time. So as always, to give you guys the rundown of what my previous TBR looks like and what I ended up reading the previous month. 2 ongoing reads at the moment that I have yet to finish, but I am in the midst of. We have got Dune by Frank Herbert, and then we have got An Education in Malice by S.T. Gibson. So these will stay in the TBR card, just kind of facing the other way because these are ongoing reads. 3 books that I didn't get to. We have got Serio Brass, El Juego del Ángel, and then Dark Star Burning, Ash Falls White. What I've encountered with my TBR is that I'll put something on my TBR. It'll rot there for about 2 to 3 months. I won't read it, and then a few months later, I'll pick it back up, put it in the TBR card, and then I will read it. So I don't doubt that these 3 books will be read this year, but maybe just this isn't the right time for us. So this is everything I read in the month of April, plus a few other things that are not included in here because they were not a part of my TBR. I did read outside of my TBR for this one, including actually, I just dropped something, including Wild Love. This was not a part of my TBR, so technically it's in the TBR card because I read it. And so with all that said, it is time for our trusty TBR jar, even though it's done us dirty in the past, our trusty TBR jar to choose what I'm gonna be reading in the month of May and hope that it aligns with what I actually want to read and that it doesn't do me dirty this go around. So let us fetch our very first prompt and let's see what we end up pulling as our very first book during May, for May, to May. And for our very first prompt, we have got Book You Bought While Traveling. Okay, I am the queen of bending and snapping, and so this works perfectly for something that I think will bring you guys a good laugh. So we have got a book that you bought while traveling, trusty camera doing its work right there, and I will not choose a book that I got while I was traveling, but a book that my mother got me while she was traveling. So here's a message from Mama Reads, a mini vlog, if you will, of a trip she just came back from, where she got me 2 specific books. So I'll be choosing one of them for this one.
I'm here. Hi everyone. Hello. How are you? I'm here. I want to buy 2 books for Mel. Come with me. I'm a good mom. I have 2 books for MelReads. This one and the other, The Reappearance of Rachel Price. My English needs more practice, but I try to speak better than ever.
The universe has a funny way of doing things because I genuinely did not know how I was going to use these clips of my mother getting me these books, and yet this prompt just pulled out the perfect scenario. And so I have got a Barnes bag right here. I wanted these books very badly. One of them is actually a book club pick for May for Patreon, and then the other one is just a book that I've been eyeing for like a little bit there. And we have got The Reappearance of Rachel Price, which is funny because I literally read a Holly Jackson book in April. I have to read another one in May, and then we have got What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez. And so I don't quite know where to go with this one. I feel like responsibly, I should just put my Patreon book club pick as the first pick of the video so that I don't completely forget about it like I did last month. And so thinking, because this is a thriller slash mystery, I don't have a whole lot of prompts that adhere to this specific thing in the TBR jar. I feel like this is smart to just put it in there and secure the bag. Stunning Mama Reads not only got me The Reappearance of Rachel Price, but also the Barnes exclusive edition. I didn't realize realize this was what it had, and then when I opened it, I was like, oh, this is pretty. And so this is our Patreon book club pick for the month of May. In case you want to join us, the link for that is always at the top of the description. It's always a fun time. You've got a bunch of live shows happening, sprints twice a week. We have got 2 different book clubs, and it's all around a great time. It also really helps keep the channel afloat. So not only is it a great means to support the channel, but also to kind of interact with other readers. And in the reappearance of Rachel Price, we follow our main character, Belle, who lives in the shadow of her mother's disappearance. 16 years ago, Belle's mom, Rachel Price, went missing, and now in present time, they are actually filming a documentary to try and find out exactly what is that happened 16 years in the past that wasn't fully resolved, only to be doused with a bucket of cold water when her mother suddenly reappears in the midst of filming said documentary. And not only does Belle find this incredibly strange and really shocking, but she really does feel like something is incredibly wrong with her mom now that she has reappeared. The premise of this is low-key terrifying because I know part of the book is Belle finding out that her family is not necessarily who she believed them to be, and just that alone, adding to that obviously the mystery of the mother, and that just skyrocketing into another series of events altogether. I am ready for this one, and I am ready again to see what Holly Jackson is gonna do. Let us go for prompt number 2, número 2, señores, and let us see what we end up choosing. It's like I'm trying to rotate this to choose something else. Every time I pull a prompt, I'm like so terrified. So this says, ooh, favorite color in cover. I feel like I can bullshit my way through this one. I'm gonna sound like really strange to you guys, but I don't have a favorite color. I have got colors that I gravitate to periodically. Like I really love muted matcha greens. I really love lilac. I really love pink. I really love the sad beiges. I've got an array of colors. I've got like a little color palette of colors that I gravitate toward, but if I had to pinpoint like what is your favorite color uniquely, I don't think I would be able to do that. Let us try and find something in that scheme. Either something that's like a muted green, any shade of pink, something that maybe has lilac in it, maybe like the beiges. And let's see what we find. I don't know. I feel like I chose 3 books that kind of reside in the same vein of color schemes. So we have got Butcher and Blackbird, which has got a lot of pink, some magentas bleeding into purple. So I feel like this can kind of fit the vibe of the color scheme I talked about, pinks, purples. I also have The Fake Maid by Lana Ferguson. Also, we have got pinks. We have also got purples. It's got like green, but it's definitely not the type of green that I gravitate toward. But I feel like overall it's pretty purple. It's not lilac, but I don't know that I've got really anything lilac, at least that I've not read, but I do feel like Our Wives Under the Sea kind of hits the nail on the head with the color scheme. It's got the really muted green that I'm into. It's not necessarily pink, but it's coral, so it resides kind of in the same family. And so I feel like Our Wives Under the Sea may just be the one I go for. And so in Our Wives Under the Sea, we follow Leia after she returns home from a deep sea mission, a sea expedition that went completely wrong. And so after this catastrophe occurs and she returns home, her wife Midi feels like there is something deeply wrong with Leia, but she can't really tell why. And so as the series of events unfold, she'll find out more and more exactly what happened in that sea mission and exactly why Leia returned the way that she did. And so I'm thinking this could be a good one. It's in that vein of like sci-fi horror. I talked about this in a previous video that I really love that vein of horror, like anything paranormal and like super like spooky. I don't really love that, but this is like the type of horror that I can definitely vibe with, and so I feel like this is definitely a wise choice, not only in genre and thematic, also it's short, but also the color scheme. 2 prompts down, let us go for our 3rd one, and let us choose, ooh, this one right here. It's a small one, and we have got, ooh, a graphic novel. I feel like this works out perfectly because I do have something in mind. I didn't realize that this volume had come out literally up until after it did, and now I'm like, I have to put that on my TBR. So naturally, I will say yes to a graphic novel, and I will go for a manga for this one, actually. I have to go with Spy Family Volume 11 for this one. I, again, didn't realize that a new volume of Spy Family had come out, and so naturally this goes into the TBR because I read the volumes as they come out. In Spy Family, if you are not aware, we follow our main character, Twilight. He is a spy. He obviously dedicates himself to all things intelligence, and he is basically tasked with a mission that will preserve the peace of Westalis, which is where they live, and in order to do so, he needs to get a fake child to enter into the same school as the classmate's dad that he needs to observe. And so he ends up adopting this little girl called Anya, who unbeknownst to him is actually a telepath, but then he also needs to get a fake wife to just complete the whole scenario. And he ends up marrying Yor, who is, unbeknownst to him as well, an assassin. And so it slowly starts developing into a crazy series of events that I think Twilight never even expected, because he doesn't know what these two respective girly pops are. And so it's always really fun to kind of see each character's POV and see what they get up to and see the secrets that they're keeping from each other, because I just look forward to the moment more and more as I read that they all find out what each other are. I think it's going to be a chaotic moment, but a fun moment when we do get there. Going for our fourth prompt. I love that I say our. It's our collective TBR, guys. I think it feels right. So we have got, ooh, a first in series. Never have I been more excited to get the first in series, because not every time am I down to start a new series, but I think this month there are several series that I want to start. So we have got first in series, and I have got several different options for this one, so it's gonna be difficult. So once more, I circle back to Butcher and Blackbird. Could be a fun one. Really want to read it, but also I have this stunner right here. I also really want to read. Oh, I don't know which one to do. Both of these are gonna end up in the TBR inevitably, because this is another Patreon book club pick. And so which one do I choose for this one? I think I'm gonna choose Indigo Ridge. And I know in this one we've got a murder, and our main character Winslow, I believe, is a police officer, and she has always been told by her father to win over the favor of the Edens, which is one of the founding families, if not the founding family for the town they live in. But it is all made very difficult because she already had a one-night stand with her oldest son, and that poses a lot of difficulty in forging a good relationship with said family. And things kind of go from there. Again, there's like a murder mystery, plus there's the romance. Everybody raves about this series, and I definitely need to get into it. I know a lot of people recommended Juniper Hill to me, which is the second book, and I think it's been recommended specifically because it's a single parent trope, which you guys know I really love. However, this one is not, but I am thinking starting from the get-go will kind of maybe set me up for success, maybe make me fall in love with the series. Who knows? We'll figure it out together, but I think Indigo Ridge will be an interesting / cool one to read this month. I really hope I like it. I've been told that I would, but I'm hoping it's a good one. I'm hoping the next prompt I get is like something along the lines of mystery, thriller, romance, more of like a genre type pick rather than something very specific, so that maybe I can sneak in Butcher and Blackbird in there. So let us go for this one. It seems like it's never been opened just based on how it's folded. And this, how does this keep happening? Like, I genuinely, listen, the universe is on my side, so let me not complain, but how does this keep happening? I feel like for the past 3 months in a row, I have had the free pick. I don't know how this keeps on happening. How many free slots do I have in here? I don't know if I put one or several, but this keeps happening. So I guess we're putting Butcher and Blackbird in here because it's just the perfect choice for it. I'm not gonna wait any longer. I'm not gonna play with fate any longer. I know this is a very hit or miss book. Hear me out. I know I stand the chance to hate it, and I stand the chance to love it. I feel because I enjoyed the Mindfuck series, that already kind of sets a precedent for I could enjoy this type of story. So I'm hoping that that is actually a verified fact and I'm not just making shit up. And so I'm hoping to enjoy this. I know it's a serial killer romance, and it's specifically like two serial killers like falling in love with each other and striking up this relationship. I don't know anything else outside of that. I am purposefully keeping it that way because I don't want to set up any expectations. I don't really want to know a whole lot. I don't want to like prep my brain for anything. I've already read the trigger warnings. It's as far as I'm going. I don't really want to know anything else. So that's that. This is another Patreon book club pick. This is actually the book club that I host with Liv over on Patreon, Lou Fantasman. So we are reading this for May and June because it's a bi-monthly book club. And so in case you want to join us in reading Butcher and Blackbird and witnessing the chaos, we have really, really fun and chaotic live shows for this. Link is in the description in case you want to join us. We have made it halfway through the TBR. We are 5 books in. I'm going to choose 5 more books, but I think so far we've done really, really good. We have got books that I need to read already in the TBR, so the rest of this can just be for the funsies. And for the most part, these are all shorter books, which I think is really going to adhere to where my headspace is at right now. And so all that to say, let us choose our 6th prompt. Let me go for this one. And this says, book with an ugly cover. It's also the way I had the audacity of pulling LMAO in here. Like, come on. A book with an ugly cover. I'm going to have to like scrounge up some covers that I don't think are particularly appealing and come back at you with this one. Oh, I didn't even remember this was in here. Okay, let's see what we can pull. I have to speak my truth here, okay? okay? I have to admit, this book is quite ugly. Like, I am so sorry. It was also so very disappointing when I saw the Fairy Loot edition and saw that nothing had changed about this cover. And so I really commend the people who put this cover together. Thank you for your service. I don't really love this cover. And so I think I'm gonna go for One Dark Window because I've also been eyeing it. I've been really wanting to read it. And although I don't really have any set expectations about the plot itself because I really don't know what to expect, I genuinely feel like I could stand to like this. The whole magic system is surrounding tarot cards, which I absolutely love. And then we follow our main character, Elspeth, who literally has a mercurial ancient spirit inside her. This spirit protects her, talks to her, kind of influences her everyday life. And it all kind of comes to a head when she meets a stranger at the highway. And she is slowly embroiled into a ploy to rid her land of the dark magic that plagues it. And then she finds out that said stranger is no stranger. It's actually a royal, and things kind of get more complicated as it goes. I have heard really amazing things about, I think it's a duology, right? I've heard really amazing things about it. So I'm hoping that it delivers. I really don't know what to expect writing wise. It's a new to me author. I think this was also the author's debut, right? If I'm not mistaken. So I feel like there's just a bunch of factors contributing to like my standoffishness of like, will I like it? Will I not? But I think it's gonna be good. So for our 7th prompt, I am gonna go for this one right here. It also just kind of looks like it's never been opened. Ooh, stenciled and or sprayed edges. Ooh. Okay, very hyper specific. I don't know that I had anything with a stenciled edge that I was looking at for May. I don't know that there were any like specific books that I was like, oh my god, yes, here are the one. Let us see what we can scrounge up. 3 very different vibes right here. So we have got Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, which is the 4th book in the Bridgerton series. And I've been saying, I really want to read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton before season 3 comes out. Will I actually is a great question, but I have been eyeing this for a while. I also pulled out the Poison Study because I've been looking at this for like the past few weeks, and I think this would be an interesting read. I also pulled out Painted Devils though. So we have got some adult fantasy, we have got some, to my understanding, YA fantasy, and then we have got some Regency romance. I'm thinking for this one, we can read first lines and we can decide what is up with this one. So for Painted Devils, we have got part 1. Once upon a time, a bride fled into the night on a steed spun from starlight. The clouds were her road and her veil tangled in the constellations, tearing away until her golden bridal crown tumbled into the chasm below. The bride watched it fall and she told herself she was free. Then for Poison Study, we have got locked in darkness that surrounded me like a coffin. I had nothing to distract me from my memories. Vivid recollections waited to ambush me whenever my mind wandered. Encompassed by the blackness, I remembered white hot flames stabbing at my face. Not the most compelling start to the book. I also love that I said first lines. I ended up reading like the small paragraphs at the beginning. Not that compelling. So I think that one's being scrapped. And then I already know how the Romancing Mr. Bridgerton starts. On the 6th of April in the year 1812, precisely 2 days before her 16th birthday, Penelope Featherington fell in love. It was, in a word, thrilling. The world shook, her heart leaped, the moment was breathtaking, and she was able to tell herself with some satisfaction the man in question, one Colin Bridgerton, felt precisely the same way. Oh, not the love part. He certainly didn't fall in love with her in 1812, and not in 1813, 1814, 1815, or, blast, not in all the years, 1816 all the way to 1822 either, and certainly not in 1823, when he was out of the country the whole time. Anyway, I really love the way that Romancing Mr. Bridgerton starts. I feel like both of these are like such good starts. This is like obviously more dramatic, like, oh, she thought she was free, but she was not. And then this one is more, oh my god. When in doubt, random number generated out. And let's say that Painted Devils will be number 1 and Romancing Mr. Bridgerton will be number 2. So we have got it right here. And random number generator, guide me to the book that I will love the most. Which book is that gonna be? 1, Painted Devils, or 2, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. And let's see. Ooh, Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, really? I feel like the random number generator is just indulging the romance mood I am in, and so I'm not mad at it. Let's go for Romancing Mr. Bridgerton. So, how do I explain Bridgerton? I've never read the book series, I've only ever watched the show. Each specific book in the Bridgerton series follows a different Bridgerton sibling, but in this one we follow Colin, who is one of the Bridgerton brothers, obviously, and his love love story with one of his closest friends, Penelope Featherington. Penelope Featherington, who has been in the dating pool for quite some time now, and she is yet to wed. We follow their story as friends who eventually turn into lovers, who, although she's been pining for him for a really long time, he's never quite looked at her the same way. And so things kind of go from there, and I don't know anything else about it. I know like tidbits, but we'll see what ends up happening as I read Romancing Mr. Bridgerton, and it does have sprayed edges, so it's perfect, perfect, perfect. We have got 3 more prompts to go, which is kind of crazy. We have got 3 more, so for 8th prompt, let me go for this one, and this one says, I wish I was making this up. I feel like this TBR has been very, very indulgent, and it's allowed for a little too much. Normally, I'd put this back into the TBR jar because I'm like, oh, I don't want to buy anything. So there are one of 2 ways this could play out. I could say, oh, I recently got the Fake Mate because I did get this in the past week, and I could just say, I recently got this book. This is the book I bought, and I'll read it. Or I can say, I'll purchase Funny Story by Emily Henry, which I have not yet purchased, but do I want to read that in May? Like, that's the thing I don't know. I don't, but the book is so pretty, and it's also kind of like the same color as this one, which is kind of funny. It's a funny story. I'm not gonna lie, maybe a little bit of a heathenish answer. I feel like I want to read The Fake Maid more. So I just bought a book and I purchased it immediately. What a great, fast, immediate transaction. And in this one, we follow Mackenzie, who is a wolf shifter, and although she longs to find her mate eventually, she has embarked on quite a few, countless, some may say, failed dates. In fact, her ratio is like so off that she has not had a good one in a while. And it doesn't help that her grandmother specifically is always hounding her about when she's gonna find her mate, when she's gonna settle down, when she's gonna have her successful love story, and she is tired of it. And so in order to kind of get off from all of that suffering, from all of those uncomfortable conversations with her grandmother, she decides to up and tell her that she's actually dating one of the fellow doctors at the hospital she works at. She is an ER doctor, and Noah, the love interest, is an interventional cardiologist. And so on one of the most important days of his life, he's like having a bunch of important meetings. She just ups and approaches him and is basically propositioning a fake dating situation that was the last thing he was expecting. But as they embark on this journey, obviously feelings kind of strike, and it goes from there. I've heard that it's quite good. It's kind of Omegaverse, if not very Omegaverse, and I really want to experience this for myself. I have been recommended The Nanny by Lana Ferguson quite a few times. I have not read it, and so my first Lana Ferguson is going to be this one. I feel like I'm looking at the TBR card, and I can't believe this array of books is mine. It kind of does look a little bit unlike me, but I love it. So let us choose our 9th prompt, which is going to be a very well folded one. Maybe something we've never chosen before for realsies now. And this says, ooh, genre crossover. Okay, so for genre crossover, this low-key would have been really, really perfect for Indigo Ridge, because you've got the mystery element, but then you've also got like the romantic element. However, I think for this one, I'm gonna go for Painted Devils. I feel like Painted Devils really is the great combination of equal parts fairy tale, mythical, very ethereal and otherworldly, combined with the best aspects of mystery and investigation and detective work, then mixed in with very much so fantasy. And so I feel like it's got a bunch of different elements that if you mesh them together, you perhaps wouldn't think of a fantasy book necessarily, but you do get Painted Devils, Little Thieves, and all of this universe. So I think I'm gonna go for this one as my genre crossover book. It's not the most accurate, I think, as far as like genre crossover. I really do feel Indigo Ridge would have been perfect for this one, but I would still argue it's got a bunch of the best kind of put together. And so after the events of Little Thieves, in which we follow Vanya as she impersonates a princess, and there's a huge game of cat and mouse with her and a detective, which also turns out to be the love interest, we follow Vanya in this one in the search for her real parents, her family. And we see her specifically really question whether or not the family that she finds will actually accept her for who she is, a thief, a con artist. As she searches for this, she encounters another deity, much like she experienced in book 1, which was a huge part of the premise. In this specific scenario, she encounters a goddess that basically tells her that Emmerich, her love interest, is supposed to be this virginal sacrifice sacrifice. And she's like, I'm sorry, what? And so not only is now Emmerich investigating said occurrence and meetup between Vanya and said goddess, but also trying to find out if what the goddess is saying is actually true. And so a completely different set of circumstances in book 2. I really love that each book has kind of a different mystery, a different investigative process, a different kind of narrative and plot to it, and that even though they all connect, each book also has a different dynamic instead of following the same vein as book 1. And just look at the book. It's literally stunning. The naked hardback is truly one of the most outrageous things you will ever see. It's so stunning. And so I'm really excited to finally get this read because this is also one of the 10 books that I want to read this year. And so I'm thinking we can tackle this one in May and call it good. And for our last prompt, our 10th one, I'm trying to like mix this, like give it a good mix. So let's see what we have for nuestro último desafío. Okay, let me choose this one. I don't know if I'm like fully confident on this one, but I'm hoping it's a good one. And this says an intimidating book. I feel like this is very arbitrary. Obviously, it's very subjective. What may be intimidating for me, it's not necessarily intimidating to you guys, but I really do feel like although I did get this book recently, obviously, I do feel like it is intimidating for me in the sense of it's a never read by me author before. Like it'd be the first time I ever read from this author. I've heard so many amazing things. I don't think I've heard a single negative thing about this book to the point where it scares me and it intimidates me to not like it. And I also feel like the thematic of it all, of like archaeology and like, you know, really deep investigation into like the olden stuff. And so I'm feeling like What the River Knows by Isabel Ibanez is going to be my pick for this one. Ideally, in my head, I'm like, I'm gonna love this. I am going to absolutely devour this. Dear universe, please let it be a good one. Like I beg. In fact, I don't even know the full extent of the synopsis. That's how much this book intimidates me because I've stayed far away from like knowing the full extent of it. I do see that it's blurbed by Stephanie Garber though, so I feel like that sounds promising in and of itself. And it says Bolivian Argentinian Inés Olivera belongs to the glittering upper society of 19th century Buenos Aires. And like the rest of the world, the town is steeped in old world magic that's been largely left behind or forgotten. Inés has everything a girl might want except for the one thing she yearns for the most: her globe-trotting parents, who frequently leave her behind. When she receives words of their tragic deaths, I was not expecting that one, Inés inherits their massive fortune and a mysterious guardian, an archaeologist in partnership with his Egyptian brother-in-law. Yearning for answers, Inés sails to Cairo, bringing her sketch pads and a golden ring her father sent to her for safekeeping before he died. I will assume something happens. Her guardian is like insanely handsome. It's literally The Mummy meets Death on the Nile. It is a historical fantasy and I don't bode too well with those. Historical fiction in general is not something I gravitate toward. I think the very basis of it being a historical fantasy to me like kind of like thwarts the excitement whilst reading the synopsis reignites it. And so having a little bit of a tug of war here, but I'm hoping that Isabel Ibanez will do all of the right things. I was also trying to find the Barnes & Noble exclusive edition, but like it's no longer available, so that one did hurt because the Barnes edition with like the plum, it was so pretty. That was my May TBR. Specifically, my TBR prompt jar chooses all of my May reads. I feel like out of all the TBRs I've had in the past, this is a banging, and specifically because May is a somewhat longer month and the books are rather short, and I've got some really cool reading experiments that I am planning on doing in May, which is why I chose some very specific books. I feel like I am going to potentially read my entire TBR during May, and if I do, I would not be mad about it because we've never done it before. So that is it for today, friends. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a massive thumbs up down below. Comment down below what you're planning to read in the month of May. If you're planning on reading anything, if you're planning on mood reading, also let a girl know. Maybe there's some overlap with the books I'm going to be reading. Have you read any of the books that I put into this month's TBR? Let a girl know all of that down in the comments. And if you reach the very end of the video, I think we can leave like a detective emoji, whether that's like a magnifying glass or like the actual detective emoji. Anything that reminds you of detective work, I think could be a good one because we've got several like investigative based books. Make sure to subscribe down below if you haven't done so already for more content like this. And if you'd like to support the channel further, as always, I do have a Patreon linked at the top of the description. It's a great way and help to keep the channel afloat, and you also just get a bunch of perks from it, so it's not like you're supporting the channel without getting anything in return. So you do get early access to videos, you get to pitch in for videos, you get to see behind the scenes, you get bloopers and exclusive videos and different live shows and sprints and 2 book clubs and a Discord server. And so I promise you do get the bang for your buck while supporting the channel. So that is always linked down in the description alongside the rest of my socials. I love you guys so much, and I shall see you on the next one.
Goodbye!
Bye.